Yo, it's your prolific prince of paper here. Get off that dusty trail and into the Lotus fields, brother, because today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things right behind Myers, Cartnark, maybe chicken parm? And that would be movies. I'll say it, I'll be the first one to have this hot take. Movies? Kind of sick. And if you thought my first making 3 commander decks for my 3 favorite movies video was going to be my only making 3 commander decks for my 3 favorite movies video, you're crazy, dude. You're fucking crazy, man. We got good ones, all right? We're throwing caution to the wind. To the question why, we say why not. To the question what's wrong with you, we say not a damn thing. To the question who blew up this bathroom, we just smile and wave. So for each of the 3 movies and the decks that we made for them today, we're going to be talking about the following. We're going to cover the movie's plot and summarize it for those of you that may not have seen it, followed by highlighting the commander choice and a custom card mock-up of the commander and why that choice was made, along with the deck's overall strategy using said commander. We are then going to cover the references in the deck, along with some custom card reskins for each movie to sell you on the idea. Sound good? Sweet. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. Starting with... Spirited Away is the 2002 animated classic by Studio Ghibli, and if you haven't watched this thing, please do. Honestly, pause the video, go watch it, because boy, it's a banger. But I'll give you the basic rundown for those of you unlucky enough to have not seen this movie. The story follows Chihiro, a young girl who is moving to a new home with her family. When arriving in this new town, strange things slowly transpire to the point our main character is lost in the land of spirits, or spirited away, as it were. Once in this new land, she meets a young boy named Haku. She's not sure if she should trust. The world doesn't stop for Chihiro though. She's gonna need a job, a house, to make new friends in this new world. Or wait, does she need any of that? What about her parents? What about finding a way out of here? What about the evil bird lady who seems to be hunting her down? All this and more in Spirited Away. Not only a fantastic movie, such a good story, such a good watch. It's so well animated and like the artistry of it's fantastic. My favorite part about this movie is you can pause it at any point and like make that your wallpaper for your computer and be like, that's pretty sick. Even like a frog in a bubble, you're like, goes kind of hard. And if you watch any given scene and don't focus on the main character, everything else is still doing what it would normally do if it was a living, breathing thing, which is so amazing. I remember watching a lot of like Western cartoons when I was younger, like SpongeBob and stuff, and being like, when a scene would start, it'd be like, oh, the phone is like overly animated and like painted nice, and everything else in the shot is like kind of like background shot. And like, oh, they're gonna interact with the phone and like nothing else in the shot. Studio Ghibli, anything in the shot's game. Not even game, everything in the shot is being used. Not sure if this needs to be said, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Spoiler warning, yeah, heavy spoilers for these movies, so keep that in mind. So, let's talk about our commander choice for this Spirited Away deck. Our main character, Chihiro, immediately meets a young boy named Haku, who is actually a dragon of the river named, however you say this properly, a literal spirit dragon who helped our human out throughout the movie, so our commander for this deck is Shiku and Narset. Right off the bat, you should see why I picked this. A girl and her dragon buddy. Yeah, let's look at the reskin of this. As Chihiro and Haku. 1 a blue, a red, and a white for a 4/4 flying vigilance. When you cast your second spell each turn, if it targets a permanent or player, you may copy that spell and choose new targets. This copy effect on our commander plays into the line where Chihiro asks Lin if there are 2 Hakus. This deck is all about casting second spells with powerful target effects to double them, so cards like, oh, I don't know, Spirited Away? Yeah, a little on the nose, but if they're cast as your second spell, they get copied. So yeah, this is a theft deck to represent Chihiro being taken away from her parents into the spirit world. It is also a clone deck to represent the spirit world's feeling of being off from the normal world, almost like an illusion. And with the amount of shapeshifting that happens throughout the movie, I think this is a perfect way to project that. Not to mention the deck runs all the instant and sorcery clones that target, so our commander, that's right, will be able to copy them. Honestly, pretty cracked and on theme. Outside this though, the deck's as spirited away as it gets. Again, slight spoilers here. When Chihiro first arrived in the spirit world, her parents are turned into pigs by magic as they had lost their sense of wonder in adulthood. This is represented perfectly on the card Curse of Swine, literally turning creatures into pigs. Yeah. So, our main character, Chihiro, runs into Haku, this young boy that is pretty familiar with the spirit realm. But as we said, Haku turns out to be, however you say this name, the spirit dragon of the river. So I thought Kaiga was a really good way to represent Haku, because not only is this a spirit dragon that seems to be pretty heavily associated with water, in our deck, if we clone the Kaiga, we can then make a copy of it, sack the copy, gain control of something. It's actually a pretty good play in the deck. She eventually discovers a furnace room where soot spirits are fueling the surrounding land, which obviously Roaring Furnace represents pretty well in this deck. Or Furnace Rains being a much better example, referencing the furnace while also gaining control of target creature, which works with our commander's ability to copy the second spell if it targets. Pretty good. Oh yeah, remember the big bird lady I was talking about? Well, it turns out she just needs an extra set of hands to help, so Chishiro gets a job with her. She's not great at it, which Foundation's Confiscate art represents great, showing a young girl with a bird higher up who obviously is not doing great. While she's going through this hard time, a human named Lin begins to be a bit of a mentor to Chihiro, teaching her the ropes and the ins and outs of her new job. And while she does not die at the end of the movie, spoiler, the ending does promote a feeling of the people that Chihiro met here will be with her for the rest of her life, which I think is represented great on the card Princess Yue, being a creature that taps to scry, or give information, much like Lin did to Chihiro in the movie. She also turns into the moon when she dies, which promotes the feeling of Lin always being with Chihiro even when she leaves. Now, what was this job that she got with Lin? Well, she helped around the bathhouse, which is represented nicely with the card the bathhouse. Also, I didn't forget about our boy No Face. This creep spirit turns out to be quite a sweetheart that just wants to follow people around and be a part of the group. For this, we run body double because, one, there's a mask in the art, and this thing kind of just becomes whatever you want it to be. You're not sure what body double actually is. I really like this deck because whereas the last decks were like weighed way heavier on flavor and not so much on like playability so much, these decks are very playable and super flavorful. A super nice balance here. You can find the whole Spirited Away deck down below, and with that, we're moving on to... Listen, they're not all gonna be like crazy top tier movies, all right? Personally, I love Night at the Museum. I remember watching it when I was like 10 at school and being like, this movie slaps for one, hilarious for two. Me and everyone in school were saying Dum Dum need gum gum for like weeks. It also made me care about history a little bit. Teddy R. Weirdly enough, this is the movie that made me want to build this deck. They just recently put Night at the Museum on Netflix, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rewatch this. Forgot how much I loved the movie, and then immediately came up with like the best deck list for it ever. Okay, so let's get into it. Night at the Museum follows Larry Daly, a divorced dad who really needs a job, in order to see his child Nick. And my dad's name is literally Larry. I'm not kidding, so this is hilarious. Larry needs a job. After months of job hunting, he finally lands a job being the night guard at the National History Museum. After a very strange combo with the previous night guards, Larry begins his first night at the museum. Oh, that's where they got that name. Which obviously doesn't go to plan. This shit turns into 5 nights at Rexy's real quick. We discover there's an ancient Egyptian tablet being held in the museum that brings the exhibits to life at night, including the exhibit featuring a wax figurine of Exhibit. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, all the exhibits start coming to life thanks to this tablet. Old Western figurines, Teddy Roosevelt, Sacagawea? Right, my bad. All of them come to life. But what seemed like the end of the world for Larry ends up being a great help for him as he becomes friends with a lot of these exhibits, not concerning at all, learns history from them, less concerning, and learns to be a better father. Aw. And damn it if that's not what every Nick wants, is a better father named Larry. I don't know what is. I'm gonna be honest though, our commander, I got some explaining to do. It doesn't really correlate much to Larry, but I worked backwards. I built this deck like ground up style, or top-down style, whichever it is, you'll get it. Let's get into it. Our commander is Rune of the Hidden Realm. Yeah, Giant Rhino. One, because Hidden Realm sounds cooler than a live museum at night, but this is mainly our commander because this deck I worked on backwards, building the deck first because the theme was actually just too good. Then we found a commander that worked with it, so let's take a look at Rune of the Hidden Realm, or in this case, Larry History's Spotlight. Being 2, a green, a white, and a blue for a 4/4 Vigilance Trample, you can pay 2 and tap him to blink target creature and have it come back at the end of your turn. Some simple, nice blink stuff. So let's talk about the actual theme here. Do you guys remember the veiled cards from Urza's Saga? The enchantments that become creatures when specific game actions happen? Well, 1, this is fucking perfect to represent the exhibits coming to life at night. But 2, there's tons of cards that do very similar effects to this. I'm gonna kind of throw these at you speedball style. So Answered Prayers, Blink Moth Nexus, Destiny Spinner, Emergent Hunting, Genju of Cedars, Genju of Falls, Genju of Fields, Halcyon Glaze, Inkmoth Nexus, Lair of the Hydra, Levitating Statue, Mirage Mirror, Mishra's Factory, Mutavault, Still Life, Veiled Apparition, Veiled Sentry. So where does our commander come in? Well, this deck runs 22 enchantments, along with cards like Composer of Spring, Entity Tracker, Ondu Spirit Dancer, which all have powerful effects when enchantments enter on our side. So in this deck, we take game actions or pay mana to animate the enchantments that we control, swing at opponents with them, then blink one of them with Rune to have it re-enter on our end step, and re-trigger all these enchantment ETBs. Not only this, but the deck is amazing with creature board wipes, as most of our creatures aren't creatures most of the time, so just playing board wipes in this deck is actually kind of cracked. Let's look into some movie references though. We got a second copy of Larry with Museum Night Watch because, duh. But more than that, we have a card that could definitely get a full reskin with Starfield of Nyx animating all of our enchantments. This, as a Night at the Museum reskin, would actually go kinda hard. I would pick one of those up. You want some Rexy? How about Don't Move or Earthshaker Dreadmaw? Earthshaker Dreadmaw being blinkable with our commander as well. If you're looking for our boy Teddy R, riding the Dailu horse was the closest I could get to this, but honestly, this is just an Asian Teddy R on this art, dude. Don't tell me otherwise. And of course, we have the Tablet of Ra, represented with Copper Tablet, which just pings people on their upkeep. Just kind of an annoying little tablet. We needed one. There it is. And no, I did not forget about Dum Dum Gimme Gum Gum. We got the Easter Island heads on this snow-covered island for some reason, so we're good. This is the deck that made me want to make this video, as I said before. And again, if you want to find the full deck list to any of the decks we talk about today, we can find them down in the description, including the Night at the Museum deck. And with that, we're going to move on to Commander deck based off of movie number 3, which is... Yeah, not all these movies are going to be like fun, peaches and cream over here, all right? Midsommar is a very rough movie, okay? So if you don't like themes of like self-harm, depression, anxiety, if you don't like the idea of psychedelics, if you don't like the idea of cults, this movie is just like all of that, and it's so good though. Oh, is it my favorite? No, Shining's my favorite horror movie. Midsommar is definitely my second, and then I would probably say Heredity is my third, so get ready for the Heredity deck on the third volume of this video. Fingers crossed they come out with the Headless Sister card by then, dude. Make my deck building super easy. Midsommar follows our main character, Dani, through the worst time of her life, as her sister, who has dealt with depression her whole life, has ended her own life. Her boyfriend, seeming more and more distant, and more unwilling to support her, thinks she is codependent and clingy. His friends try to convince him to break up with her, but upon discovering what had happened, that makes that an impossibility. When he goes over to Dani's house to console her, he brings up the fact that him and his friends are going on a trip to a place in Sweden, the Midsommar Festival, so that one of his friends could write a thesis paper about it. Upon hearing this, Dani asks if she's allowed to come with them. Dani's boyfriend and Dani's boyfriend's friends are not about this, but seeing how much she's gone through, they just let her go anyway. But after some drug-induced trips, culture shocks, rituals that would not fly anywhere else in the modern day, and each character confronting their own evil, this trip quickly becomes a nightmare. But when the group is forced to stay during this Midsommar event, their minds are tampered with by a cult, spiraling into absolute mental chaos, with some members falling victim to the cult's charm. Our commander for this deck is Klothys, God of Destiny, or Dani, Midsommar's Queen. This a red and a green 4/5 god has indestructible and isn't a creature if your devotion is less than 7. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target card out of a graveyard. If it was a land card, add 1 green or 1 red. If it was not a land card, deal 2 damage to each opponent and we gain 2 life. So yeah, Dani ends up being the Midsommar Queen at the end of this and falls victim to the cult, as her loss of her sister and her boyfriend have left her vulnerable and easily manipulatable. But in her mind, she has finally found a family, and with her becoming a Midsommar Queen, she will be talked about in this cult forever, practically immortalizing her, mirroring her sister ending her life early, as Dani has seen this as a way to extend her own life. Also working well with the indestructible keyword. The ability to remove a card from the graveyard feels like Dani forgetting her past, and the dealing 2 life and gaining 2 life also taps into the way Dani describes herself feeling in relationships, seeing herself as someone who damages others for her own mental sanity. Again, tell me I didn't knock this one out of the park. This deck is a curse and goad deck. The curses tying into Dani literally feeling cursed. She has a bad trip the second she tries to relax. She loses her sister. Her boyfriend doesn't love her. She feels cursed throughout this entire movie, as if bad is pointing her towards this Midsommar festival. Curse of Stalked Prey actually shows being lost in the woods, so this is perfect for the scene where Dani gets lost in the woods tripping on psychedelics. And of course, Curse of Bloodletting, relating to Dani's mirror scene when she sees her dead sister in the background of her reflection. The goad aspect of this deck works incredibly well, as infighting is one of the first ways the cult gets to the group. Telling members of the group things other members of the group have said, getting weirdly close to members of the group's girlfriends, or literally giving them drugs, this cult is enticing this infighting for a reason. which is perfectly represented on gold cards like Disrupt Decorum. This deck also runs Carpet of Flowers to represent the Midsommar event as its heavily flowered theme. Crown of Doom is pretty on the nose, referencing Dani becoming the Midsommar Queen, and I really like See the Unwritten as a representation of the thesis paper the member of the group is writing, as it not only says written in it, pretty smart, huh? But the cards will cheat out goad creatures in this deck, which ties into the actual thesis paper causing infighting in the group. Again, tell me I didn't knock that out of the park. But yeah, Midsommar, full deck list down in the description along with the other 2 movies we talked about today. Let me know what some of your favorite movies are and what decks you would make out of them. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the channel and what we've been doing. You can become a Patreon or a YouTube member. They both start as low as $1 a month and they help me out a ton. You also can submit your deck list if you are a member and we will review them on Friday nights. We've also got a website now, nixlotus.com, where you can use our Lotus refinery tool to help your scryfall searching, or you can check out the merch page and pick up our Taneb the Harvester crewneck sweatshirt and rock the Dragon Reanimator on your clothes, baby. Huge thanks to all the support recently, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Peace.